My name is Erika Leipertz, and I'm here today outside of Dunedin City Hall, where I attended a meeting on March 18th about the voluntary annexation of properties located at 296 and 297 Aristotle Street. These annexation applications were application ANLUPZO 21-02 and applications ANLUPZO 21-03. These applications included the voluntary annexations of properties 296 and 297 Aristotle Street from unincorporated Pinellas County into the city of Dunedin, as well as the land use plan and zoning district designations of these properties. The issue in my case study is that once city sanitation services were provided to these units, they would then be required to apply for voluntary annexation into the city of Dunedin in order to remain in compliance with Ordinance 21-09, which indicates there's a need for voluntary annexation of these subjects' properties into the city of Dunedin. In accordance with Ordinance 21-10, there's a need to designate these properties as residential urban on the city's future land use plan map following the annexation. And finally, in accordance with Ordinance 21-11, there's a need to designate these properties as R-60 single-family residential zoning districts following annexation. In 2020, Covenant Homes Incorporated requested and was granted sanitary sewer service from the city of Dunedin in order to complete two new single-family residences that were currently under construction from previously being mobile homes. One of the conditions of providing this service from the city of Dunedin was that the property owners, Michael Frank Diana of 296 Aristotle Street and Belinda Marie Luce and Luis Angel Ruiz Jr. of 297 Aristotle Street, would have to apply for voluntary annexation. The property owners were directed by staff pursuant to Section 78-1 of City Code to apply for voluntary annexation of the properties from unincorporated Pinellas County into the city of Dunedin upon completion of the new residences. The properties in question are located in the New Athens City subdivision located on Aristotle Street just north of Salone Avenue. This subdivision is located within what is known as the Dunedin Planning Area and is contiguous with inside of city limits. The city has an agreement with Pinellas County that was established approximately 2 years ago that there is a certain designated area known as the Dunedin Planning Area, and in theory, everything inside of this area is now up for voluntary annexation into the city of Dunedin. These properties located at 296 Aristotle Street and 297 Aristotle Street are not only located within this Dunedin planning area, but are also located in an enclave within the city of Dunedin. What that means is that they're completely surrounded by the city, and it would be the natural progression of the city of Dunedin to see these properties annexed into the city. The stakeholders in this case study are the property owners of 296 and 297 Aristotle Street, the builders, Covenant Homes Incorporated, the city of Dunedin, the residents of Dunedin, and Pinellas County. The current property owners of 296 and 297 Aristotle Street are impacted by this case study first and foremost because their need for city services forced their voluntary annexation application into the city of Dunedin. While there's no direct financial impact when it comes to applying for annexation into the city of Dunedin, it is possible that these residents may experience an increase or a decrease in the taxes and fees that they pay to the city of Dunedin in comparison to the taxes and fees that they may be paying as part of unincorporated Pinellas County. The builders, Covenant Homes Incorporated, are impacted because there is a financial and time commitment associated with converting mobile home units into single-family residential homes and getting them connected with all of the city services. The city of Dunedin is impacted by having to require additional personnel time to process and present applications for annexation to the city, as well as the annexing of these properties will impact economic housing development, engineering, fire, public works and utilities, solid waste within the city limits. Additional property tax dollars, however, will be coming back to the city if these applications are approved, as well as a potential fiscal gain for other fees that are associated with residency in Dunedin. The residents of Dunedin are impacted through those additional tax dollars coming back to the city that might benefit community programs, but they also may experience a slight strain on community resources because of the new additions. In Pinellas County, there is an impact because there is a potential loss for property taxes if these applications are approved. However, there might be strain alleviated off of some of their public services like fire once it is incorporated into the city of Dunedin versus being an unincorporated Pinellas County. This case had a lot of considerations, so I knew that the best way to come to a recommendation would be to get some expert opinions on voluntary annexation, and most specifically when it comes to the city of Dunedin. I was fortunate enough to be able to talk with two separate experts. The first expert I spoke with was Mr. Joseph DePasqua, who's the Assistant Director of Community Development in Dunedin, and had a lot of great information for me about annexation in this particular case. One of the things that Mr. DePasqua hit on was that in order to determine if annexation is beneficial for both the city and the residents applying for annexation would be to get online and check out either the City of Dunedin's website or the Forward Pinellas website. Both of these websites include something known as the Annexation Calculator to help someone determine whether or not annexation may be financially beneficial for them or if they may not receive as big of an impact as they're anticipating. Although annexation requests are not that frequent in Dunedin, about 2 years ago, the City of Dunedin came up with an agreement with unincorporated Pinellas County where they determined that they were going to create what is now known as the Dunedin Planning Area. This area marks out an area of space that ultimately Dunedin plans on will all be considered part of the City of Dunedin. The idea of this agreement is that any of the properties within the Dunedin planning area are now available for voluntary annexation and most likely would be set to be approved, as that is what the city is working towards as their goal. While there's no guarantee that annexations are approved, Mr. DePasqua did indicate that most of the time they are approved. Some instances where an annexation may not be approved are in the case where the resident applying for annexation is too far removed from the contiguous city, or if the resident applying for annexation has made it pretty clear that they don't actually have a desire to be a part of the city and they're simply maybe applying for the annexation just because they needed the city services or something like that, but they've made it very clear that they don't want to be a part of the city. Now, Mr. DePasqua did say that that is pretty rare, but he has seen that at one point in his career at a previous city that he was working for. In the City of Dunedin, Mr. DePasqua indicated that annexation is useful because the Dunedin planning area is the overall vision and they want everything within the Dunedin planning area to eventually become part of the City of Dunedin and is currently available for voluntary annexation. In the case of the Aristotle Street properties, both of these properties are within the boundaries of the Dunedin planning area, as well as being located within actually an enclave. What that means is that all of the property surrounding this enclave of unincorporated Pinellas County is actually already part of the City of Dunedin. So the natural course of progression would be to go ahead and approve these applications so that we can make the City of Dunedin planning area a reality. Ask Mr. DePasqua if he sees a potential, as the City of Dunedin is continuously growing and developing, that there may be an uprise in annexation requests to become part of the City of Dunedin. Mr. DePasqua did indicate that over time he guesses the remainder of this subdivision is going to apply for approval into the city, and so far there have already been 5 additional properties within the last 2 years from this subdivision that have applied for and been granted voluntary annexation into the City of Dunedin from unincorporated Pinellas County. In addition to having the opportunity to speak with Mr. Joseph DePasqua, the Assistant Director of Community Development in the City of Dunedin, I also had the opportunity to speak with the Mayor of Dunedin. Mayor Bojowski stated that while annexation requests are not seen very often in the City of Dunedin, whenever they are seen, they are typically a unanimous approval by the City Council. Mayor Bajowski believes that there's no real benefit or loss to the city when dealing with voluntary annexation, and that typically it neutralizes itself out, because although there is a little bit of a financial impact to the city on the front end when dealing with voluntary annexation, they're going to end up ultimately receiving back additional property taxes and fees based on the annexation once it's completed, as we're adding new residences to the city of Dunedin. So she did say that kind of neutralizes itself in that regard. Mayor Bajowski also indicated that aside from needing to apply for annexation in order to receive city services, typically voluntary annexations aren't seen very often, is because they're incredibly lengthy and time-consuming for the applicants. What that means is that the applicants normally are going to have to be able to experience a significant financial gain in order to go through the process of applying for a voluntary annexation. Without a significant financial gain or the need for city services, typically there's not really another reason why residences would go out of their way in order to apply for a voluntary annexation. After additional research, reading through the voluntary annexation applications, attending the city council meeting, and speaking with my experts, I do feel as though I've come to a recommendation for this case study. My recommendation would be for the city of Dunedin to approve the annexation applications of both 296 and 297 Aristotle Street in order to adhere to the agreement that they made 2 years ago with unincorporated Pinellas County and the Dunedin planning area. By approving these requests for annexation, the city of Dunedin will be able to get closer to the vision of Dunedin planning and development. I recommend designating the properties as residential urban RU on the city's future land use planning map following annexation, as well as designating the properties as R60 single-family residential zoning district following annexation. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation here today and you've learned a lot of great information about annexation and annexation into the city of Dunedin from unincorporated Pinellas County. I can report that the city of Dunedin was able to approve these annexation applications, and it was done by a unanimous vote of the city council. Thanks so much again and have a great day.